This video is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one website platform for entrepreneurs to stand out and succeed online. In case there are any youngsters in the audience, there was a movie from a few years ago called Joker, directed by Todd Phillips, and it was a big deal. It looked like the first serious attempt at the character since The Dark Knight. It won the prestigious Golden Lion Award at the Venice Film Festival. There was fear that the screenings of the film would incite violence. Joaquin Phoenix went on to win a pretty well-deserved Oscar for Best Actor, and the film received an undeserved nomination for Best Picture. It ranked at number 6 at the box office that year. A handful of its scenes are considered iconic at this point. It was one of the most divisive films of that year. And what did I think of the movie? It was fine. I was never a huge Joker hater, though it has always been a fun movie to make fun of. Even if I still think it's a gorgeously shot and well-acted film, each rewatch goes over worse than the last. I find it to be a very empty, very surface-level take on mental illness, being about as profound as a Theo Von clip, and the self-seriousness of it just annoys me. But enter Joker Folio, the highly anticipated sequel, even though I have to admit, when I've brought this up to most normal people in my life, they had no idea this was even happening, which is very surprising to me. The film stars, again, Joaquin Phoenix, and more importantly, Lady Gaga. Even if the people involved refuse to call it this, it's a musical, as well as a courtroom drama, apparently, and it's about Arthur Fleck meeting Harley Quinn while in prison. Finding out that this was a musical made me irrationally excited to check it out, because it felt like a complete detour from the tone of the first film, and I respected the hell out of that left-field choice for a comic book film sequel. And well, joke's on me, because this was one of the biggest disappointments of the year. Oh my God. Joaquin Phoenix is about as good as he was in the first film. Not better, not worse. I would say he has more to work with this time around. The mental anguish he experiences comes off more severe than the first film, and unsurprisingly, he does a pretty good job carrying all of that anguish. I just felt bad at a certain point for the kinds of lines they make him deliver in this thing. Might as well have him say, "I'm the Joker, baby." It's on par with most of the lines here. Brendan Gleeson is also in this, apparently, and I thought he was great as always. He deserves better as an actor than being just a one-noted prison guard in the Joker movie, but it is always nice to see his face. But let's talk about the real star, Lady Gaga, the one we're all here to see, right? Who I also thought was very good. She has yet to disappoint with me, I have to say. She was undeniably great in A Star Is Born, and I respect what she did in House of Gucci, even if it's not the best film overall. I like the fact that she just throws herself into any role she's given, this being no exception. I'm pretty impressed at how well she handles the hard-to-read tone of this film. It's an easy character to misread and feel out of place, but she felt comfortable in every scene. I guess it's hard for her to mess up when they don't really let her do that much. She eats up every musical number, obviously, and she has one really great standalone scene outside of the courthouse by herself. But for being the far more interesting character this time around, not nearly enough time is spent exploring her arc, which makes the final moments in the film feel shallow and predictable. I get that she's kind of more of a symbol in Arthur's head at a certain point, but the real character in the film always fascinated me more than him, and it was a shame we didn't get more of her. How is this over 2 hours long, but we don't get enough Lady Gaga? Might have something to do with this choosing to be a courtroom drama. The thing you gotta understand about courtroom dramas is that they are a safe bet for me. No matter how rushed or generic, they're always thrilling. Even Trial of the Chicago 7 has its moments, I have to admit. And this has to be one of the worst courtroom dramas ever made. I don't think Phillips is a bad director. I even think he's a pretty good director sometimes. He can make a good scene here and there, but he's clearly not equipped for this. A courtroom scene should have thrilling back and forth arguments that dissect every detail of a crime scene, and if they're really good, say something about society in the process. There should be twists and turns and unpredictable outcomes. Legally Blonde runs laps around this thing. Also, and I didn't even know this is a thing I cared about until it was missing, but I wish the lawyers and certainly the judge actually sounded like they're supposed to sound. I was just questioning multiple times during this if either of these writers have ever watched a courtroom drama, because it doesn't sound like this. This isn't the place to be having these conversations. It just, none of it worked. Following the exact same problems as the first film, this just comes off like a watered down version of everything it pulls from, down to the dialogue in the courtroom. There's one good line where Joker calls the judge Your Majesty. That was fun. I liked that. Other than that, though, all of these scenes were just a total snooze and just frankly, a waste of time. Those scenes, as well as most non-courtroom scenes, consisted mostly of these ramblings about Arthur's mental illness and his double identity crisis that never actually amount to anything interesting. The film is just as lost about where to go with these ideas as Arthur is in his own mind. And I know that the film is meant to be read as a response to the first film, commenting on the separation to be made between the character and the person behind it. It's like talking down on the first film in a way. This idea of making a movie about the response to that first one, especially when the first one was a whole cultural moment, is interesting in theory, but it just runs around in circles over the same ideas without ever going any deeper. I like it as a concept, but it doesn't make for the most interesting movie. I don't mind talky movies, specifically courtroom movies that are discussion heavy. Again, Anatomy of a Fall is riveting, but I don't think anyone, even Joker defenders, walked away from that first film being like, I want to hear more of these conversations. That's where this really shines. Okay, maybe the courtroom stuff doesn't work, but maybe the musical will be good, right? Right? So I can't sit here and lie and tell you I didn't like the musical numbers. Some of them were lots of fun. When Arthur and Lee break out for the first time and they're literally singing in the rain, that was fun. The lighting in the movie room, as well as when they're outside and the lights are shining on them, seeing all the rain come down, it's undeniably pretty gorgeous to look at. In general, the lighting in this movie is not only good for a comic book film, it's good for any blockbuster film. In general, it feels good to see a big film like this actually take advantage of its budget for once. This is a stretch, but there are shots in here that looked like they pulled directly from Great Freedom from a few years ago, which made me realize how similar Phoenix and Franz Rogowski can be. I'm just getting carried away at this point. Point is, if this is a step up in any way, it's in the cinematography. This thing looked really good. But back to the music, anything with Lady Gaga, which was pretty much all of the musical numbers, was a lot of fun. Again, the courthouse scene when she's dancing by herself, that really worked for me. But the thing is, I think that first escape scene only works as well as it does because it's the first proper musical number. After that, every musical number kind of feels the same. Arthur's flat singing is charming at first, but slowly grating the longer it goes on. Also, the direction for these musical numbers feels painfully dull. Some of these songs feel big and extravagant, and yet the direction is shy and unsure of what to do. I don't think the musical elements are as poorly done as the courtroom stuff, but it does still feel like one missed opportunity after another. Some weird magical quality I will always commend that first Joker for is that the first time I saw it, I was fascinated by it and found it very entertaining. You can't deny it's fun. It's kind of a fun watch. Even if nothing was really being said, the atmosphere of the film, the central performance, that murky score, it was all pretty captivating, especially when people were scared of this thing. It's why once that filter wore off, the film became increasingly dull with repeated viewings. Once you're used to it, there's nothing really there to chew on. With Jokey... With this film, the filter is already off. A scrappy attempt at being a musical aside, there's nothing new being added here. I mean, they literally pull out old hits with like the stairs and the bathroom dance, and it's like, what are we doing? And halfway through, when I realized the film wasn't really gonna go anywhere, that anything it had to say had already been said and they're not gonna go any deeper, it just became a slog to get through, which is not something I ever would have said about the first film despite its flaws. Even with my expectations being pretty low, this was the most disappointing movie of the year so far. I was bored out of my goddamn mind. And that's what I have to say. Thanks for watching. Go watch Joker if you feel like taking a nap and before you head out. I want to thank this week's sponsor, Squarespace, the all-in-one website platform for entrepreneurs to stand out and succeed online. You can start a completely personalized website with their new guided design system, Squarespace Blueprint, which allows you to choose from professionally curated layout and styling options to build a unique online presence from the ground up, tailored to your brand or business and optimized for every device. Easily launch that website of yours and get discovered fast with integrated optimized SEO tools so that you show up more often to more people and grow the way you want. If you want to build out your portfolio, if you're a filmmaker or you just make videos, they have a wonderful video collections feature which allows you to upload video content, organize your video library, and showcase your content on beautiful video pages. You can even sell access to your video library by adding a paywall to your content. And I feel like I should mention their visual design tool. Grow credibility and engage visitors with an unrivaled suite of visual design effects built in and ready to go on any Squarespace website. Create your own online aesthetic with dozens of modern and intuitive options, then connect social and multimedia accounts in just a few clicks to extend your brand's footprint. Go to squarespace.com to start your free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Karsten to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.